Well, I want to thank everybody for being here today. For those that are online, thank you for being online as well. And we are here in a town called Waite Park, Minnesota. If you don't know where Waite Park is, join me, all right? But it's near St. Cloud. That's easier to find. They're like areas that touch each other. So we are up here to do another Compass MS Care program, and I want to thank everybody again that's online. I want to thank our exhibitors that were here, but I want to thank our supporters. We had EMD Serono, Genentech, Novartis, and TG Therapeutics, and I'm hoping everybody in the room can thank them as well. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. Those supporters of our program helped to make this program happen. All right. So we just want to, like I said, I wanted to thank them. Tonight, we are having Kathleen O'Donnell, who is the president of the Upper Midwest chapter of the National MS Society. She's going to speak with you all for about 15 minutes about what the MS Society is doing for you all in the state of Minnesota. And again, Kathleen O'Donnell, thank you for coming here to speak. And we have to thank the National MS Society for helping us do these programs in rural America. All thanks to Kathleen getting this started with me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You can hear me well. Yes, good. Stuart said I'm Kathleen O'Donnell. I'm the Upper Midwest Chapter President of the National MS Society. It's a pleasure to be here. I got to meet some of you on the way in. Thank you for that opportunity. I'm one of 31 chapter presidents across the United States, and our chapter is Minnesota, Iowa, North Dakota, and South Dakota. So all of us chapter presidents kind of have the job of building community, and it's wonderful to work with MS Views and News and Stuart to be able to be out in the community. I want to, well, here we go. I practiced this, didn't I? There, good. And the next one. Okay, good. So the MS Society exists because no one should have to face MS alone. So that's why we're here. And I'd like to share a little bit about the Society's current efforts to grow the MS movement in greater Minnesota. And this is reflective of things that are happening in other parts of the country as well. I'd like to allow a little time to hear from you. Questions that you may have or things that you need, ideas that you may have on how we can strengthen the movement in greater Minnesota. I'm curious if we could have just a shout out for some of the counties that I know some people came from quite a ways. We have people from Hennepin County. We have people from Stearns County, Benton County. Can we just kind of have, are most of anybody from Hudson, Wisconsin? Excellent. Ramsey County, great. Thank you for coming up here. So I did pull some information just as a point of reference, and I took kind of the 10 county surrounding area here in St. Cloud, and we have about 1,500 constituents in these 10 counties, which is significant. And then when you look at what we know about MS and the number of people who live with MS is more than twice what we estimated. Currently in the society, we're reaching about 67%, which is progress, of all the people we know that are diagnosed with MS and living with MS. So we still have a ways to go. So just kind of keep that in mind. I'd like to share what it means for us and then perhaps hear from you what it might mean for you. Sorry. I'm a little clunky with this, especially when I can't see what I'm doing. It's behind me. So everyone knows in this room their own way to describe MS, even though it may look different from one person to the next here. And we know that there are nearly 1 million people in the United States living with MS and more than 2.8 million people living with MS worldwide. Sylvia Lowry, the founder of the National MS Society, single-handedly launched this global network, really, a movement to end MS. But she did it by putting an ad in the New York Times. I like to tell people this story, asking if anyone had experience with this disease on behalf of her brother Bernard. So she was the first person that brought people together to say, we have to do this together, right? And now the National MS Society is the largest MS organization in the world. And we make progress by breaking down global barriers. We're part of a international federation where we bring international consensus on the most promising pathways to cures. And we are also small communities like this, like here we are tonight. One-on-one connections with an MS navigator or someone else who lives with MS at the same stage in life that you may be in, or someone who's at a different stage in life who can say to you that they have MS, but MS doesn't have them. You will make it, where you're not alone. When a person affected with MS reaches out to the MS Society, they really tap into a very powerful network. People who understand where they're coming from, and they can feel, and feeling understood really can be a life-changing thing. I was actually going to share a quote with you from the honoree at our recent Walk MS Twin Cities event, and I didn't know that that person would be here tonight. So my friend and longtime volunteer for the National MS Society, Linda Gill, shared at the walk something that really moved my heart. She said, "I love MS." And she was talking about not what she had lost, which is undeniable, but more importantly, what she had gained as a result of having this disease, powerful and enduring connections to others who've expanded her insights, her awareness, and her joy. She's been empowered to be the change for others as well. She said she would not have some of the amazing friends she has now if this disease were not a part of her life. So I want to thank you for that quote, Linda. And you, yes, I think it is good to share. And for the spirit in which you show up all the time, being there for other people. We're going to talk a little bit about our self-help groups, and Linda and her husband Mitch lead a self-help group in the Twin Cities, open to all people of all colors, and has been doing it a long time. So if you have any questions about our self-help groups, or you may be interested in starting one, Linda's here to share her insights as well. So we're people coming together in small communities across this chapter and across the country with family, friends, and coworkers. Here you see families of our chapter board members in Fargo, North Dakota, Mason City, Iowa, and right here in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Betsy Mohawald is one of our emeritus members of our board, and she was at the walk. I see some heads nodding for people that obviously know and love Betsy. Our walk in St. Cloud, about a month ago now, is April 28th. We had over 165 participants, and so far they've raised over $30,000. So all of those community moments matter. And for many people, the walk is not so much about the fundraising as it is about coming together and having that recognition and being in a place where you are understood. To achieve our mission, we have to harness everything that we do. So we have to advance the most promising research in the world. We have to shine a light on the biggest problems for people who live with MS, and advocate for policies that we need to help solve those problems. And we have to ensure that people who live with MS have what they need to live well today and be ready for tomorrow's cure. So strengthening the MS movement is one of our 4 strategic priorities. So we want to empower people with MS to have what they need to solve everyday challenges. We want to improve access to personalized, high quality, affordable healthcare. All those adjectives are critically important, and we want to accelerate cures through global leadership, in addition to strengthening the MS movement through more and deeper connections. So this is our value proposition. We provide information, connections, and support so you can be more than your MS. We want people to be connected, to be in control, and to be more than their MS. So it can be challenging to get the right information, connections, and support to be more than your MS. We want you to be able to get back the power that you have to focus on things that matter to you. And you can start with us for solutions. Every person's MS experience is very different and can change from day to day and year to year, of course. So you can get answers that are on your mind right now and then come back to us for answers as your life unfolds. We care about MS and care about how it affects your life. We're here for people who are caregivers of people who live with MS, family members of people who live with MS. We want to partner with you so that you can address your needs on your terms. So I think that I'd like to invite people to our website, which is really second to none, and we've just revamped it. So if you haven't visited our website lately, it's really terrific. We've revamped it to have you be at the center and to function in a way that gets you where you need to be and remembers what things are important to you. Whether it's visiting our website or talking with the trusted MS navigators, some of you picked up these cards. Our MS navigators are available for questions, for resources, for support, everything for family support, home modification, advanced care needs. You can tap into the information you need by calling an MS navigator. Has anyone in the room used our MS navigators before for resources and support? Great. I want to make sure everybody leaves with at least one of these cards, if not two, because then you can give them to someone else. I know Dr. Cockwood, we've talked about this before, being able to refer people to our MS navigators right from the doctor's office can be a really powerful connection. And so we want to make sure people have what they need to move their lives forward. We have programs, we have in-person programs, we have online programs, we have specific age demographic programs, we have newly diagnosed programs, where people kind of get the overall of information and then they're connected to an ongoing support group of people just like them from across the country. We're doing a lot with pediatric MS and have programming for families and people who have pediatric MS. So we're constantly building our program repertoire so that it meets the needs of communities. If you are interested in having a program here, we have a whole wealth of resources from our past Pathways to Wellness programs, and we just did one of these in Des Moines where our local community council wanted to have an educational session, but they wanted to do it at a fun place. And so we had an occupational therapist, physical therapist, and we did this program in person there. So all of those options are available. We want to make sure that you have the support that you need. If you visit our website, we have, and you put in where you live, they have all of the information of things that are happening within a radius of where you live. And so all that programming is there. So we have everything from our Grand Rapids support group is having a presentation in partnership called Moving Through Grief, Positive Attitudes. They have a time management workshop, and then we have our Black MS Experience Summit coming up on June 14th and 15th. I do want to just put a plug in, both of thanks for the people in this region who've been running our self-help groups for many years. I think that at a certain point in time, people would like to pass the torch on to others. And our geography has dispersed. Following COVID, I think some of the self-help groups kind of ran out of steam a little bit because it was hard for people to come together, right? And so we're looking to reinvigorate our cadre of folks that are interested in serving as self-help group leaders. This is a special flyer for people that are interested. We provide all the training, all the resources for you, and provide you with support for how, and then we refer people your way. So I had a great conversation with a couple people on the way in who are looking to extend the MS Society's presence in different parts of Greater Minnesota. We have 14 support groups in this 10-county metro area, but some of them are inactive right now, waiting kind of for the next generation, and we do need more. I will say that our self-help groups sometimes are educational, and sometimes they're just sheer fun. We have one in Iowa that's called the Lunch Bunch. That's what they do. They go out to lunch. I know Linda's group does a lot of social things together that uplift people's spirits, and you're doing it with people who just get you. And so if you have ideas for that or would like to start a self-help group, please talk to me. So this is about our activist work. Our leadership on Capitol Hill has really led to positive changes for people who live with MS, including the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act. We just had a whole bunch of volunteers go to Washington, D.C., and one of the things that we advocated for, they told their stories, was for the continuation of telehealth legislation, which in parts of rural Minnesota, being able to connect with a healthcare provider over telehealth is essential. And so know that your fellow people who live with MS are sharing their voice to say how important it is to continue to fund telehealth. We also advocate for additional research funds that can be matched so that we can continue to get closer to a cure. I thought this was really interesting when I ran that 10-county area. We have about 3,500 activists in our activist network in my 4 chapters, Minnesota, Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota. 2,700 of those are in Minnesota, and about 10% of those are all from this 10-county area. Is there anyone in the room who's a part of our MS Activist Network that you're aware of? Anybody? Okay, here's what I'm going to tell you. It's super easy. If you go to the website, you put in MS Activists. You sign up. You get information about the issues that are important to you that we're advocating for. You get templates for sending messages to your state legislators, to your congressional representatives, and to other people in power that you can customize. And you can literally do it at home in your pajamas. It's super easy to be involved, and your voice really does matter. So if you aren't a part of the MS Activist Network, I'd encourage you to do that. And it's all optional, right? But you'll get those action alerts, and you'll understand the things that we're raising our voices about. I would love to see, so last year we got a huge win in the state of Minnesota as a result of our advocacy work. We helped pass legislation for a prescription drug affordability board. And it was completely bipartisan, and it was kind of oversight on the escalation of prescription drugs, how we can get a handle on that, because the average cost of MS drugs is $96,000 a year. So it makes a difference. And now we have this incredible board. We have representatives who live with MS serving on this board, sharing their stories about what that means. And so it really does make a difference. Here's some recent MS State Action Day that we did at the state of Minnesota. We had activists who were able to meet with Keith Ellison, our Attorney General, to talk about fair debt and medical debt, and the challenge that people who have unanticipated medical debt finally find themselves in places where they're being denied medical care because of the medical debt that they didn't count on, or their modified van they can't drive anymore because it's being counted against them in terms of their medical debt. So really important legislation there. So we have people that met with their legislators, told their stories. And then we also talked about all copays count. So we want to make sure when people make their copays, they count toward their copays. We also had Minnesota state proclamations for MS Awareness Week, which is the second week in March, on both the House and the Senate side, and then in small places like Hastings, where one of our constituents said to the mayor and city council, we'd like a proclamation for MS Awareness Week. And it happened. And so these are just regular folks like you and me, making a difference and making sure that people are aware of MS. This is work that I think that we do that is little known and incredibly impactful. So we're working to deepen engagement of healthcare providers. So we want to empower people to be strong advocates. We want to diversify the MS workforce. So we provide continuing education, fellowships, mentorships. Dr. Cockwood has been a mentor for years of MS Society-funded mentees. We want to make sure that we fill the workforce with knowledgeable and enthusiastic people. We have people now practicing in MS specialties who came from a family where their father was diagnosed with MS, and we want to make sure that those people are moved into the pipeline. We're working really diligently with the healthcare systems here in central Minnesota and northern Minnesota. I met with the CEO of Essentia last week, and then we're meeting with CentraCare folks this coming week to make sure they understand all the resources we have to help them help their patients better, and to see us as allies in that work. We have Project ECHO, which is Centers of Excellence. It's kind of a way to train people around certain diseases where you have hubs, and then people from all over can benefit from the expertise from another healthcare provider and learn to be better practitioners. So I'm really proud of the work that we do. We have full-time staff. That's all she does is work with healthcare providers. So if you know healthcare providers that you want to make sure are connected with the MS Society, there are a lot of them who serve people with MS who are not connected with the society. You can help us do that. Talk a little bit about being an MS ambassador in a minute. And then obviously we work to cure MS, and in another presentation coming up in a couple weeks, I'll be talking in the Black Hills about our pathways to cures. But I want to share one special research project that we're doing. I think that's particularly relevant. We are doing a mapping research project where we are mapping neurological care and neurological care deserts so that we can target communities where specialized MS services are really not available. And we're going to use this initial data to collect groundwork and then work with practitioners to help hurdle the barriers people have for getting access to neurological care and to the appropriate MS care. You'd be surprised how many deserts there actually are. And we know that a delay in getting a disease-modifying therapy started can cause significant impact on people's progress. So if we want to make sure that we create this desert map and get this dashboard, we can focus our efforts on kind of plugging where those neurological deserts are. We also have lots of research opportunities. You can visit our website for those where you can be a part of clinical trials. Even if you don't live with MS, we need people to participate in research, and that's one way to continue to expand our connections here. Really quickly, we have a program called MS Ambassadors. We had it years ago, and I was talking to Cheryl earlier this evening about possibility of becoming an MS Ambassador. We provide video-based training. We can equip you with a table full of goodies like I have so that wherever you are in your community, if there's a health fair or a celebration in a park or at your church, that it's an opportunity for you to share information and increase awareness about the National MS Society. And then we have special folks called Healthcare Access Ambassadors. It's another additional little training. It's not a really big deal, but you're the people that help us go to the healthcare practitioners and tell your story and advocate for us to be able to have stronger connections with those folks. So some great opportunities that we want to partner with you on. I think that we just finished our St. Cloud Walk. We have a couple more do-it-yourself events coming up this summer. You can also do something called Walk MS Your Way. If you're farther out from St. Cloud and you want to do a little community walk, we can help you set that up, use our walk platform, do fundraising, and give people prizes and all of that good stuff. Please come and volunteer. We have lots of opportunities to volunteer. There's a QR code where you can just go right to there, or a piece of paper where it's some opportunities. Invite a friend to learn more and to get involved. We had some people who came as friends, kind of last call for our Twin Cities ride this weekend, and they hadn't had any connection. And they're like, I'm coming back. So we're going to start a community council here in St. Cloud in the next couple of years. So if you're interested in growing leadership, please let me know about that. We're always looking for new members of our board. Dr. Cockwood is on our board, and we need and have a goal as a board to have more people from outside the Twin Cities on our board. So, and then of course, the self-help group leader opportunity is there for you as well. So that's it for me in terms of the things that we're doing. And I'd like to pause for questions here if you have some ideas or requests or ways that we can support you here.
Let's thank Kathleen for what the MS Society is doing. And the MS Society. Thank you.
My pleasure.
So does anybody have a question for Kathleen? Raise your hand, please. If not, I do.
Let's see if anybody in the
So what is the MS Society doing for people that are in really remote areas? Not Waite Park, because you guys got coal. You guys got coals here. I'm not impressed that this is so rural anymore. All right. So what is the MS Society doing to get the word out to people in remote rural areas of the U.S.?
Right. Well, we do that in partnership with our clinical partners, our healthcare partners, who are big ways that we can connect to people on the front line. We do have lots of programming now that's available online, so that if people live in an area that's pretty geographically diffused and there are not a lot of people around, we can make those connections for people. We've been advocating, as I shared, for the continuation of telehealth and broadband so that people have access. We have an MS Friends program, actually, where that's a kind of a phone relationship where we can do one-on-one matches with people who might feel isolated, and we make that match with them for someone who's going through the same chapter of life that they do. I feel like COVID was one of those silver lining things where we were forced to do a lot of online programming, but now we have those programs available. We have monthly Ask an MS Expert that are live and recorded. We do them for veterans. We do them in Spanish now, and they are kept in our library, those ongoing resources. So, and then we have these little opportunities for Walk MS Your Way. We have one in the Black Hills. We have someone that loves to do a walk with their assisted living, and so they have all their friends and families come. It really does take relationships to make those things happen, though, and so that's why I always encourage people to take something with them to share with someone else, because they may not know that we exist, right?
The MS Navigator program is awesome. And if you're not involved with it, I would really suggest for those that are in person and online to get involved. Many of the things that our organization finds that is needed for people to learn about come from what I learned from the Navigator program. So my thanks to you all for doing that.
They're fabulous people. And I have to tell you, they're all over the country. We have probably about 10 of them in our chapter, but they serve the whole country. And they're a caring partner. They're people that come back to you. Sometimes people will come and they don't know what they need. So they visit with the MS Navigator, and then the MS Navigator might find that maybe they're kind of isolated, or maybe they are experiencing depression and they need some resources, or they think they need this. They're incredibly passionate and compassionate people. One of the greatest things I will say, the MS Society used to be like 100, Dr. Cockwood, you probably remember the number, this was before me, separate chapters, and each chapter was its own nonprofit. And so if that chapter raised some money, their people got some stuff. And if their chapter didn't raise any money, then people didn't get any stuff. And so now the good news is, no matter where you live, you have full access to all of our resources. And we have people biking in New York to get resources to St. Cloud for people in St. Cloud. And it's made a huge difference in terms of accessibility for everyone. So, did you have a question?
We have a question. Imagine that.
I have a question regarding what has the MS Society got for caregivers of MS?
Oh, that is a great question. We actually, so on our website, there's a whole section for caregivers. We also have our MS navigators are a lot of times the caregivers do call people who call our navigators, and they can provide support for them. There's respite support for caregivers that we can help make happen. Sometimes it's just someone to talk to, right? Some of our self-help groups have caregivers in them, right? And that's another opportunity to connect with others that share some of the same realities. And so those are just a few of the resources we have. But I would encourage you to grab a couple of those navigator cards and ask our navigators, because they can help you cut through the noise and get right to what those resources are. It's important to take care of yourself when you're taking care of other people. And we all do this together, right? We have to be there for each other. So thank you for that question. That was a really good question.
All right. Anybody else? Then let's just thank Kathleen for speaking tonight. How many people in the room are caregivers? Raise your hand, please. Can you all stand up? Anybody on this side of the room, caregiver? Stand up. Let's give them all a round of applause for doing what they're doing. All right? It's extremely important that people know that those caregivers are doing something that they probably never figured in life that they would be doing, but yet they stuck with it, and they're doing everything they can to make the family life very enjoyable, okay? So I thank them also for being there.